Israel's war on Gaza, where at least 60 people have been killed in the past 24 hours. And after a strike in a home in el-Balah, rescue workers spent much of their time searching the rubble for survivors. Most of the injured are women and children. Arwa Damon is the founder and president of the charity INARA, joins us now from Deir el-Balah in central Gaza. Ms Damon, good to have you with us on Al Jazeera. Thanks for your time. I mean, what we do know is that your group does try and help those across the Gaza Strip. So in terms of getting aid and permission to deliver that aid, as we know, is often problematic. We've heard from so many sources that it can be. What's your experience been of you trying to do your bit in the past 24 hours?
You know, if I had to summarize what it was like to actually be in the humanitarian space in Gaza, it's either constantly trying to turn yourself into a mental pretzel to try to figure something out, or some sort of a weird, dark, obscure version of mental Olympics. And I'll just give you an example of what happened yesterday, where I was accompanying another organization to the north. And in case your viewers are not aware, aid either comes in through a crossing in the south, Karam Abu Salim, or it comes in a crossing via the north. But there is no movement, or easy movement rather, of aid between the north and the south and vice versa. And this is problematic because the same items don't come through every single crossing point. And in fact, aid organizations don't have much of a say in what comes through. So in the south, you have a very robust commercial market. You have the availability of fruits and vegetables. In the north, you only have flour. And I was taking part in a mission to the north with another organization trying to deliver a truck of fresh vegetables for distribution, which would have been sufficient for around 1,200 families. What happened was that even though initial approval came through for the movement, then in the morning, the Israeli side decided that they wanted the movement to happen not in a closed truck, but rather one that was open. Now, that's presumably for security concerns. Why do organizations now really want to shift towards using closed trucks? It's because of the severe increase in looting and criminal activity, and you really want the products to actually reach the people that they need. We ended up deciding to just go up on our own in a vehicle, shoving as much as we could inside, because, you know, if you have the opportunity to move, even if you're just able to provide for a small fraction of people, in my opinion, it is well worth the effort. We then ended up waiting at the holding point for permission for the green light, as it's called, to get to the north for about 4 hours before we were ping-ponged back and forth between turn back, go through, turn back, go through. We did eventually get through, and what you really see when you get into Gaza City itself is exactly how destructive and widespread the destruction actually is of every single aspect of life that would make the Gaza Strip inhabitable. Where I am standing right now in Deir el-Balah, this is pretty much the only area in Gaza that is, relatively speaking, still standing. Every single other part of this tiny little stretch of land has been rendered almost completely and totally uninhabitable. And in the north, you not only have a shortage of, just basic food items and hygiene items, you also have people trying to live on top of the rubble of their homes where their loved ones were killed, with no sanitation, no food, no proper hygiene, no water.
So, Ms Damon, you described really everything that we've heard of in minute detail, and it is, as always, horrific, no matter who witnesses the scene for themselves. You visited Gaza many times before in your professional life. Do you recognise the Gaza that you saw over the last 24 hours to the Gaza that you remember?
No, I don't. But even more than that, I'm able to cross from, Deir el-Balah, from the southern part of Gaza, the middle part of Gaza, to the north. But Gazans are not permitted to cross. And I came back down with all of this footage from the north, and I was showing it to friends of mine who are from Gaza City. And they were scrolling through my phone saying, Arwa, we don't recognize anything. They were asking me the street names because they couldn't recognize anything. And, we have to realize when we're talking about this level of destruction, it's buildings that are either completely destroyed or partially destroyed or burned or riddled with bullet holes. It's, streets that are now filled with piles of rubble and trash and garbage. And it's not just that people don't recognize streets that were familiar. The mental impact of all of this constant bombardment on a person's soul and psyche, has led to a situation where most people will tell you right now that they barely even recognize themselves or their own people. There are very real fears about the lawlessness that is growing, the criminal activity, the looting, which is leading to conversations about who is actually going to begin to restore the moral code that existed among people, rule of law. This is one of the conversations that happens when everyone is talking about the day after. It extends beyond access to humanitarian assistance.
It is an unfolding and disturbing picture that you paint for us, but thanks very much for the update. Arwa Damon there, founder and president of the charity INARA, joining us from Deir el-Balah. Thank you.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.